Above all names, his name is Jesus. Come on, put your hands together like this. Come on, clap your hands. All of you, let everything get hands up. Praise you the Lord. Now on the count of three, I want you to shout hallelujah. 1, 2, 3. Hallelujah. So glad that we serve a God who is for us. If God is for us, who can be against us? He's fighting for us. Sing. God is fighting for us. God is on our side. He has overcome us. He has overcome. We will not be shaken. We will not be moved. Jesus, you are here. Let's put that trumpet down. Shout out today for the victory.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. Oh, because we do not carry everything to God in prayer.
So they ask me why I pray, so I tell them why I pray, because Christ is my role model. I follow him today with my faith. I'm shown to prove when I pray. My God will move, there's no worries, cause my God is on call, and he will do what he said that he will do every day. It's made anew. If your mind is on our God, then the odds cannot be true. So I pray you give me strength to be brave. The God, the words that I say, all the troubles in the world will not deter me, no way. Get on my knees every day. I feel your love and embrace. You gave me life, so I pray. The glorious sound of your name, the glorious ground which I came, was molded from the glorious hand, from the glorious King. The greatest of all created is all, we made it this far, so I sing. You split the sea and move mountains, and you feed by the thousands and the millions to the billions. I don't know why we doubt him, we cannot live without him. I'm so glad that I found him. If your spirit is water, I'ma drink from your fountain and be full for a lifetime. The Lord is my lifeline, and Christ is my example, so I strive for one like mine. No father is like mine's, correction, he's like yours. We all serve the same, Lord, since I heard that you came. Things have not been the same, but you won't change, it just occurred that you deserve all the praise, and that's the reason I pray.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes day one of the Backstreet's new and exciting life. I have to do the new house dance.
Wow, that dance? That's a good new house dance. You know, those boys were having so much fun tonight, I thought I would never get them to bed. And then Ryan did the cutest thing. He asked if we could all pray together.
Really? What did you pray about?
He met a dog. What do you think he prayed for?
Oh, yuck. Oh, just walking petri dish, that dog.
And Jordan was very precise. He prayed for good visibility, good weather on the hiking trip tomorrow.
The hiking trip? Oh, right. Yeah, the hiking trip. Yeah.
You want to know what I prayed for?
Yeah. What did you pray for?
I prayed we would become closer as a family.
Honey, you don't need to pray for that to happen. I will make that happen.
What would you pray for?
Me? I don't know. Praying just...
Honey, you're the one who said you wanted to change the world. It's a pretty big job. If it were me, I would take all the help I could get.
Former Buffalo News anchor Evan Baxter take office tomorrow to make good on a lofty campaign promise.
What are we gonna do?
Good Good luck, Congressman. Many have tried. Many have failed. Hello! This is Regina Sparks reporting for MS.
Hello there. Hi. This is Evan Baxter. Just wanted to say thank you for everything. Thank you for the new car and for the house. The house is great. I love it. I mean, I picked it out, but you created matter and everything, so. I just wanted to say that I think Joan makes a good point, and that I am now in a position of great power, and I know that with great power comes great responsibility. So, God, please help me change the world. Okay, that's it. I'm hanging up now.
So maybe we don't pray enough. Maybe I don't pray enough. Let me rephrase that. We don't pray enough. I don't pray enough. And maybe that's a missing link. Maybe that's a missing ingredient in all of our lives and our spiritual lives. Today is not going to be anything particularly sizzly, sexy, nothing really complicated. Today's just going to be a good old-fashioned, old-school message on the power of prayer. Okay? And when we get through looking through these passages on prayer, we're going to do some praying. And I hope in my life and in your life we can launch a whole new initiative and momentum towards prayer, because I've come to the realization, especially this week, I need to pray. With everything I've got going on and we've got going on. Because at the end of the day, it's not by might nor by power. It's by His Spirit. We're very big on action around here, and I wear that as a badge of honor, because it's about doing something and getting involved and participating, and we do that in some incredible ways, and taking nothing away from that. And we've set up some strong organizational infrastructure, especially lately. I'm working basically around the clock, putting systems and structures and things in place to handle the responsibility and the weight of everything we've got going. We've got a lot going on. We've got 30 residences that require insurance and landlords and payments and maintenance and water bills. And then we've got a team of lawyers. We've got about 7 lawyers working for us right now on different issues. And we've got a legal team extraordinaire that offers us the finest of legal services. And they do it for free. And we're excited about free. And we've got insurance. I've got a couple of insurance agents that make sure we're covered from stem to stern on everything we've got going on. And we've got, do you know we have 8 subsidiaries now across 6 states? And we got counselors, and we've got coaches, and we've got education. And as a matter of fact, let me back up and demonstrate a couple of things we've got going. A couple of pictures ago, yesterday, Larry Hudson up in Charlotte, he finished this forklift certification. He got that, and that's awesome. And then Freddie Tommy, our very own, was granted Employee of the Quarter for K&G Fashion. And Thomas Smith, take a stand. Thomas Smith got his forklift certification yesterday. So these are incredible things, and we've got educators and tutors and people with master's levels handling all kinds of stuff for us. And we've got this incredible CPA firm that's handling our accounting. And So in terms of systems and structures and natural help, we're covered. But I got to tell you, it's not enough. Unless the Lord builds this house, we labor in vain. Because I got to tell you, with the finest of our ingenuity and resources, unless God does this, we cannot do it in and of ourselves. There's not enough CPAs, there's not enough lawyers, there's not enough counselors, there's not enough coaches. So even with all that going, I just have felt so vulnerable in the last few days, and my knees have just kind of buckled a little bit, but it's been a good thing because I've realized I need to pray more. I'm working around the clock, but what I need to do is spend a good, significant amount of my time in prayer. Abraham Lincoln said, "You give me 6 hours to chop a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe." Does anybody hear what I'm saying? So maybe because I've got so much to do and we've got so much responsibility, that just means we need to pray more. I've got so much to do, I can't afford not to pray. I've got to get all this time in prayer in to get everything done. And I'm just talking about my life. What about your life? You've got a lot going on too. I mean, when Christ said, "I came to give you life and life more abundantly," he said a mouthful. Abundant means a lot. And my life is bigger than me. I'm sure it's bigger. Your life is bigger than you. Oh my God, are there any moms and dads out there? Boy, that's a bigger job than you. And if you don't feel the weight of parenting responsibility, you don't get it. Boy, with fear and trembling, we bring children into this world because it's a major responsibility. So all the moms and dads out there, you need to pray more. We got to cover our kids and their future and their protection in prayer. And your economics, the stuff the challenges you've got going on economically, and all the things that you've got going on with your job, or because you don't have a job, you got some responsibilities. I mean, all of us need to be praying more. You with me? So, let's look at it. 3 things, 3 simple things. And let's start with number 1. Hit it, Krishan. Jesus prayed a lot. Jesus prayed a lot. You can't go too many chapters through the Gospels and see where Jesus stepped away, went to a mountaintop, went to a solitary place, went to the wilderness, and got alone with his Father. Luke 5:16 says, "But Jesus often," I want you to circle that word, often, that means a lot, frequently, withdrew to a lonely place and prayed. Christian theology, the Gospels, the New Testament teaches that Jesus was the only begotten of God, the Son of God. He was born of a virgin, King of kings, Lord of lords, the offspring of the Almighty. He and the Father were one. He said, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father." And if Jesus had to pray often, how much more should we be praying? I mean, if Jesus, even though he was cut from that divine cloth that we say in Christian theology, if he had to often withdraw to lonely places and get alone with the Father to find power for his life, how much more is it on us to make sure we're getting alone with God? That if Jesus needed that kind of power that came from prayer, certainly we do as well. Here's something from Mark. It says, very early in the morning. Turn your name and say, early in the morning. It's strategic. Before your day gets started, very early in the morning. Before the rat race starts. While it was still dark, Jesus got up It was so important. He was so disciplined. He knew that he needed this so much that very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he got himself up. He left the house and went off to a solitary place of solitude, a quiet place, a secret place where he did what? He prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." And Jesus said, "That's why I had to get away." But he replied, "Let us go somewhere else to the nearby villages so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he traveled through Galilee, preaching in their synagogues, and he did all kinds of powerful things. He drove out demons. He had power, but that power was a result of his prayer life. We sang it this morning. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. I believe that God's love is completely unconditional. You don't have to lift a finger to earn it. It's just absolute. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. There's nothing good that you can do that will make God love you more. There's nothing bad that you can do that will make God love you less. He just loves you. It's a fact. It's the truth. However, I believe the power of God is conditional. You can be in his love, but be powerless. I think the power of God is going to require a price. I think it's going to require an investment. And for us to live this powerful spiritual life where we are overcomers and victorious, and we're the head and not the tail, and we walk in victory in our life, we're going to have to learn how to pray and find that power source in our prayer life. Jesus had power over sickness, over disease. He walked on the water. He turned the water into wine. He did all manners of miracles. He healed all manners of disease because he had power, and that power was found in a prayer life. You want more power? You want life to quit kicking your butt? Then we got to find a new power source. We got to get up early, get to a solitary place, and find some time alone with God. If Jesus needed it, certainly we need it as well. Number 2. A time of prayer produces a life of prayer. A time of prayer produces a life of prayer. Let's look at these two components. In Matthew 6, Jesus said, "But you, when you pray, go into your room, go into your closet, shut the door, find a solitary place, a secret place where you'll be undisturbed, and pray to your Father who is in that secret place." So that certainly is one facet of prayer that we need to examine. Getting into our prayer closet or a place of solitude where you can be alone with God. Some call it time alone with God. Your tag time. But also understand that literally we are praying all the time. Paul said to pray without ceasing. It's my understanding that literally we are manifesting, creating, praying, if you will, all the time. All the time. Every thought you have, guess what it is? It's a prayer. Every word you speak, it's a prayer. Every attitude you exhibit, it's a prayer. God created creators, and we are manifesting, creating, attracting, getting stuff done all of the time with our thoughts, our words, our attitudes. We are a walking prayer chapel all the time. There's power of life and death in our tongues. When we speak, things happen. There's no such thing as an idle word. Jesus said we'll give account for every word we speak because it's powerful. God created with his words, you create with your words. So we're literally always praying. If I'm in the restaurant, I'm praying. If I'm at home, I'm praying. If I'm at school, at work, anytime I'm walking around with an attitude, with a thought, with a word, every conversation is nothing more than a prayer. So, I want to learn how to pray more effectively because the book of James says that we can pray amiss. We can pray incorrectly. We can miss the target with this prayer without ceasing. But it also says that the fervent, effectual prayer of the righteous avails much. So I can pray effectively or ineffectively. So I want to pray effectively, so I've got to get my day going well and get into my prayer closet so I can get aligned with God in this time of prayer so that all day long, wherever I go, I can pray with power and live my life and interact with the world, praying without ceasing in a positive direction. Does that make sense? Because how many knows if you're not aligned with God, you can create all kinds of mischief and drama throughout the day. Fights, conflict, mess. And it's because you didn't get into your prayer closet at the beginning of the day and calibrate your spirit with God's Spirit and surrender to God's Spirit so that you can walk around creating a beautiful day, a godly day, a righteous day, and pray effectively. You're always praying. But I got to get some time in the morning early before my day starts to get aligned and get this chiropractic adjustment with the Spirit so that my thoughts and my words are pleasing in His sight. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I got to get my heart right so that when I speak, I'm speaking the words of God and I'm praying effectively, praying with power, and I'm walking through my day with power and victory that comes from this time of prayer. Number 3. Prayer generates spiritual power. Prayer generates spiritual power. Let's read through some of these scriptures. It says, immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side where he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. There he is again. Man, he prayed a lot. This time he went up to the mountain. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. Everybody say alone. See, some of you are just not comfortable being by yourself. You just need all kinds of stimulation all the time or you're uncomfortable. Don't you know that your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit, that you're a walking prayer chapel? You are the church. You are the house of God. You got to get comfortable being by yourself in God's presence. That's where you're going to find personal power. Later that night, he went there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. Do you think there's a connection between him going up to the mountain a lot and then being able to do things like walk on the water? He was powered by Spirit. This just wasn't a random act. Because he was empowered by prayer, he could do all kinds of wonderful, miraculous things. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. They were afraid. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. They reeked in fear. Why? Because they were not powered by prayer. Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, get a grip, chillax. It's me. Don't be afraid. And Peter said, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come on the water with you. Come, he said, come on out. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, why did you doubt? See, Jesus could walk on that water because he had this myopic focus on God and God's face and the presence of God. That connection, that strong connection that he found in prayer, that's why he could sustain doing the impossible. Peter had not invested that time and got distracted by his circumstance, by his conditions, by the winds and the waves, the storms of life, jerked his attention, and that was where his focus was. Don't you know that your time of prayer is going to help you focus on your God and not on your problem?
You're focused on your problem, you're focused on your issue, you're focused on your worry, and you're sinking in this quicksand of life because you have broken your focus off God. Your prayer time, your time of prayer, your solitude is going to help you maintain that connection. Prayer produces spiritual power. Let's continue reading. One of those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray. This is a whole other story. And he spent the night praying to God. When morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them whom he had also designated apostles. He went down with them and stood out on a level place. A large crowd of his disciples was there, and a great number of people from all over Judea, from Jerusalem, and from the coastal region around Tyre and Sidon, who had come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. Those troubled by impure spirits were cured, and the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and he was healing them all. How long should you pray? I don't think there's an amount of time, but you should stay on that mountaintop until you can bring the mountaintop down with you. See, Jesus always came off the mountain. He didn't stay in prayer. He wasn't a monk. He didn't live in a monastery. But he prayed long enough and stayed in the presence of God long enough so that he could bring that power down with him. Ever how long that is, that's how long you should pray. Get up early enough, pray long enough so that you can walk through your day in the power and the presence of God. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and do what? Pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. James 5:14 says, is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to what? Pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. And it goes on to say the prayer of faith will heal them. Exodus 17. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Do you catch the metaphor there? As long as Moses had his hands up in prayer, his people were victorious. When he lowered his hands, they were defeated. Maybe we're not experiencing as much overcoming and victory in our life because we haven't lifted up holy hands in prayer enough. Maybe that's the missing ingredient. Maybe we're got too much sickness because we just don't pray enough. Maybe we don't see the miracle because we're just not investing time in prayer life to produce the power that will give us the miracle. Let's continue. John 15. I am the true vine and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me. Please circle that. Abide in me. Remain in me. Connect with me. And I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. Apart from God, we can do nothing. But in him, through him, we can do all things, right? Through Christ who gives us strength. Philippians 4. You're going to love this one. Be anxious for nothing. Worry about nothing. But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Worry about nothing. Pray about everything. we have worry because we have an absence of prayer. We're anxious. We're upset. Our nerves are on end because we're not praying. But if we'll ever just pray and make our request known to God, this is what will happen. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Cast your cares upon the Lord, for He cares for you. Are there any worriers in the house today? That's because we're not praying enough. Matthew 7, ask and it will be given. What you ask for, seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. For everyone who asks receives. Anyone who seeks finds. If only you will knock, the door will open. If a child asks his father for a loaf of bread, will he be given a stone instead? If he asks for fish, will he be given a poisonous snake? Of course not. And if you hard-hearted, sinful men know how to give good gifts to your children, won't your Father in heaven even more certainly give good gifts to those who what? Ask. Ask. We've got too much weight because we're trying to shoulder this burden. The book of Isaiah tells us that the government is on His shoulders. It's on His shoulders. It's time for us to unburden ourselves from this life that's too big for us. We can't do it. Apart from Him, we can do nothing, but through Him, we can do all things because He gives us strength. It's not by might nor by power, but it's by His Spirit. What time is it? 11:35. Okay. We're just going to do one thing, and I'm going to put some kind of time on it, about 20 minutes. And if you want to kneel at your chair, if you want to come up here, if you want to walk around, I don't care. But I want us to launch a prayer campaign. And for today to overlap into tomorrow, and for Monday to help us ignite a time of prayer for Tuesday. And let's just start living a life of prayer. We don't pray enough. I don't pray enough. And that changes today. Let's pray. We're going to play some music. I've got some room on that paper if you want to write some things that you want to pray for. But I want us to take seriously some prayer.